Johnny Weissmuller of the United States for swimming. He won 5 freestyle gold medals in 1924.
In addition to becoming an Olympic gold medalist and the legendary Tarzan, Johnny Weissmuller was a true hero who saved lives during times of total mayhem. Johnny Weissmuller Jr. continued his father's spirit of adventure by plunging headfirst into the Hollywood scene and creating a life of his own. Despite their notoriety and success, both men were touched by catastrophes that altered the course of their lives in irrevocable ways. What terrible mysteries dogged the family name, and how could the heroic actor who seemed unstoppable on cinema endure such tragic losses? In the beginning of his career, one of the most famous swimmers of all time was just getting his name out there. Szabadfalva is a hamlet in the Kingdom of Hungary, Austria-Hungary, where Johann Peter Weissmuller, better known as Johnny Weissmuller, was born on June 2, 1904. In modern-day Romania, the area is known as Freidorf and is a part of Timișoara. A Banat Swabian family, of which Johnny's family was a member, lived there in the past. After an ancestor left Baden in 1749, 6 generations of Weissmullers were born in Hungary. To say Johnny was born and raised in the area would be an understatement. 3 days after his birth, Johnny was christened in a Catholic ceremony. What makes this story remarkable is that he was given the Hungarian form of his German name, János, instead of Johnny. His parents, Peter and Elizabeth Weissmuller, made the decision to leave Germany for America a year later on January 26, 1905, in search of a better life. On a 12-day voyage aboard the SS, they accompanied the little Johnny, Rotterdam, en route to Ellis Island, the first point of entry for many immigrant families to the United States. Their landing spot was in Windber, Pennsylvania. They decided to make this little coal mining town their permanent home because several of their family already lived there. However, their family's size quickly expanded. Peter, Johnny's younger brother, was born in September of the next year, 1905. Like other immigrants of that era, the family undoubtedly faced many hardships, yet they persevered. The Weissmuller family chose to move again, this time to Chicago 3 years later, while Johnny was still a little kid. In an effort to make a fresh start in the vibrant metropolis, they took up residence with Johnny's maternal grandparents. Johnny spent his formative years in Chicago, a city known for its expansive neighborhoods and beaches that border the lake. The family leased one floor of a shared home, a common arrangement for immigrant families at that era. However, this time Johnny had a transformative event. When he was 9 years old, he had polio, a condition that might have killed him. His parents' fears must have been palpable, but Johnny's doctor offered an unexpected solution: swimming. It was suggested that Johnny try swimming as a means of healing, building muscle, and regaining his strength. The counsel was spot on, as Johnny not only made a full recovery, but he flourished. Fullerton Beach on the shores of Lake Michigan was the site of his first swimming lessons. Listen, Johnny wasn't only a child who picked up swimming skills, he went on to become an aquatic avenger. There on Lake Michigan, he discovered his passion for swimming and soon began competing in and winning every race he could find. However, a major setback occurred in Johnny's personal life at the same time as his swimming career took off. When Johnny was in 7th grade, his father, Peter, left the family. The amount of strain that Johnny must have felt is difficult to fathom. Even though he was just a little boy, he was suddenly expected to take charge of the household. In order to help support his family, his mom, younger brother, and himself, he decided to drop out of school. You would be mistaken to assume that setback prevented him from swimming. It served to fortify Johnny's resolve. The tale of Johnny's entrance into the YMCA stands out among the anecdotes of his youth. You see, the YMCA had a hard and fast rule that said you had to be 12 years old to join, and Johnny was 11 years old when this happened. Johnny, nevertheless, was not going to let it deter him. He joined the competition on a false pretense of age and went on to win every swimming event he competed in. Johnny was great at more than just swimming, however. He also began sprinting and high leaping, demonstrating his innate athleticism. The Illinois Athletic Club, widely regarded as the nation's premier swim squad, was Johnny's first stop shortly after he joined. When Johnny got the attention of Bill Bachrach, a swimming coach who would go on to play a pivotal role in Johnny's life, his swimming career took off. And Bill wasn't only a coach, really. After Johnny's father abandoned him, he became a father figure and mentor to Johnny, whom Johnny could trust and respect. There was no denying Johnny's ability in the pool. Officially, Johnny's competitive swimming career begins on August 6, 1921. At the tender age of 17, he competed in 4 AAU events, marking his official meet debut. Who won? Surely that's right. A month later, on September 27, 1921, at the AAU Nationals, he not only won all 4 races, but he also established his first 2 world records. Johnny wasn't your average swimmer. His records in the 100 and 150-yard freestyle competitions proved it. You would be surprised if you assumed Johnny would stop there. Johnny shattered Duke Kahanamoku's 100-meter freestyle world record on July 9, 1922, hardly 1 year after that. Johnny Weissmuller was on the verge of becoming the new king of the pool when he shattered Duke's record with a timing of 58.6 seconds. Duke was a swimming legend at that period. Johnny did, in fact, win the 100-meter freestyle event in the 1924 Summer Olympics in Paris, defeating Duke Kahanamoku once again. But Johnny wasn't content with a single gold nugget. He was a member of the United States Olympic 4x 200-meter relay winning squad and also won gold in the 400-meter freestyle at the same Olympics. This guy was unstoppable, and he was quickly becoming a household name. Guess what happened when Johnny went back to the Olympics in Amsterdam 4 years later? He became indelible as one of the all-time best swimmers after winning 2 further gold medals. John Harvey Kellogg's holistic living principles piqued Johnny's attention around the same period. You may recognize the name Kellogg from his cereals, but that's not all he was passionate about. He believed strongly in the power of good diet, regular exercise, and even enemas. Rumor has it that Johnny followed suit, and he claims it kept him competitive. When Johnny swam the 100-yard freestyle in 51.0 seconds in 1927, he accomplished one of his greatest exploits. Those 17 years were record-breaking. Johnny, who was 36 years old at the time, didn't improve it to 48.5 seconds until 1940 at the Billy Rose World's Fair Aquacade. By this point, however, Johnny had already established himself as a professional swimmer, so the result didn't matter. However, Johnny cared about more than simply personal achievements. At the 1924 Summer Olympics, he helped the United States men's water polo team win bronze. Even though the United States squad came in 8th place in 1928, he returned to the water polo arena for another go. Johnny set many records throughout his swimming career. In addition to his 52 U.S. national championships, he earned 5 gold medals and 1 bronze medal in the Olympics. He swam to an astounding 67 world records. Tell me what's even more astounding. Over the whole of his amateur career, he never suffered a defeat. In 1950, he was rated the best swimmer of the first half of the 20th century by the Associated Press, and he retired as the best swimmer of his period. You would think that for anybody, earning 5 gold medals at the Olympics would be the pinnacle of achievement, but not Johnny. It was really the beginning of a new chapter in his life, one that would lead him to the entertainment industry in Hollywood. A little part in glorifying the American girl was his entry into the film industry. It was more about Johnny flaunting his amazing body than he had any words in the film. Wearing nothing but a fig leaf, he lifted actress Mary Eaton on his shoulders in a scene when he was costumed as Adonis. His celebrity didn't magically appear after that moment, but it did get the eye of Cyril Hume, a prominent Hollywood writer. Johnny got his big break because of Hume. In the 1932 film Tarzan the Ape Man, he had a supporting role. You probably picture Johnny Weissmuller as Tarzan the Ape whenever you think of him. It's difficult to picture anyone else in the part. It was one of the first action-adventure films and a huge success, based on Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan of the Apes. For many years, Johnny's career was defined by his portrayal as Tarzan, the hero of the jungle. Johnny was the ideal Tarzan for more than just his physical attributes. Audiences adored him for some reason. Despite Tarzan's limited English in the films, Johnny's interpretation of the character resonated with audiences. Maureen O'Sullivan, who co-starred with him, portrayed Jane in 6 of those Tarzan films that were released between 1932 and 1942. Their personalities were considerably more convincing because of the connection that existed between Johnny and Maureen. The iconic Tarzan shout, a raucous, resonant noise that became Johnny's trademark, must also be remembered. Surprisingly, he didn't really shout that. Expert sound designer Douglas Shearer gave Johnny's regular voice that distinctive tone by manipulating the pitch and then inverting it. The supporters, meanwhile, saw it as all Johnny. After the success of Tarzan the Ape Man, Johnny reprised the role in a total of 12 films. His natural charisma won over crowds every time he dangled from vines or battled wild beasts. Even the original novel's creator, Edgar Rice Burroughs, took note of his depiction of Tarzan due to its immense popularity. Although Burroughs was pleased with Johnny's casting, he had one gripe with the films: their depiction of Tarzan's linguistic abilities. Tarzan had a lot more comedic timing and eloquence in the novels than he did in the movies. Because Burroughs was unhappy with the transformation, he used a different actor, Herman Brix, in his own Tarzan films, giving the character a more nuanced and articulate voice. Although Brix remained faithful to the original story, most viewers still saw Johnny as Tarzan. Johnny was already under contract with men's underwear manufacturer BVD when he was originally approached about playing Tarzan. At first, it seemed like there would be an issue since he was modeling their items. The Tarzan movie company MGM, however, struck an agreement with BVD. By partnering with famous women like Greta Garbo and Marie Dressler, BVD was able to fund Johnny's transition from underwear model to Tarzan. Johnny felt it was time for a change after years of playing Tarzan. He remained mostly inside the forest, however. Jungle Jim was a character he adopted in the late 1940s. I know you're worried if Jungle Jim is a complete mystery to you. Johnny still thought he was a big deal, even if he wasn't as renowned as Tarzan. Over the course of 8 films, Johnny portrayed the role of the daring explorer Jungle Jim. Essentially, it was a more personable take on the Tarzan storyline. It was more probable that Jungle Jim would outplan his foes and save lives than that he would hang from vines. The cinema was not the end of Jungle Jim's career. Johnny appeared in 26 episodes of the Jungle Jim TV series once the character made the transition to television. Johnny had obviously discovered his calling. People enjoyed seeing him take on the jungle in roles like Tarzan and Jungle Jim, and he was great at it. Because of how long he performed the role, it became an integral aspect of his public persona. Johnny, nevertheless, opted to put away his loincloth for good after 20 years of portraying outsized roles. He left the performing profession in 1957. Johnny Weissmuller was a real-life hero in addition to being an Olympic champion and Hollywood celebrity. It may come as a surprise to hear that he saved several lives on his journey. Even before he became renowned as Tarzan in 1927, there was a really extraordinary event. He experienced it while preparing for the Chicago Marathon. Johnny became engulfed in a genuine catastrophe while enjoying a day on Lake Michigan. The Favorite, a little pleasure vessel transporting ladies and children, had gone overboard. The weather was perfect until an unexpected storm blasted over the lake, toppling the boat and plunging its occupants into the depths below. As soon as the boat went down, panic ensued since 75 people were on board. A battle for survival ensued since the majority of them were unable to swim. Now Johnny wasn't one to sit on his hands. He was a lifeguard. Johnny sprang into action, using his exceptional swimming abilities and lightning-fast reasoning. In order to save lives, he repeatedly jumped into the sea. Johnny and other rescuers saved almost 50 lives that day, but 27 people, including 16 children, drowned. 11 people were rescued from the icy, turbulent water by Johnny alone. A lot more was going on in Johnny's private life while he was saving lives and setting swimming records. For your information, Johnny was married no less than 5 times. Bobby Arnst was a band and club singer who he wed once before. Although they tied the knot in 1931, their marriage was short-lived. They finalized their divorce in 1933, only 2 years after they were married. Shortly thereafter, Johnny wed the fiery actress Lupe Velez, who had a reputation as the Mexican Spitfire due to her wild attitude. Everything you've heard about that marriage is true. They ended up splitting in 1939 after a passionate but troubled marriage. Beryl Scott, Johnny's third wife, entered the scene not long after. Their marriage in 1939 was witnessed by Heidi Elizabeth Weissmuller, Wendy Ann Weissmuller, and Johnny Weissmuller Jr. Johnny seemed to have finally achieved stability with this marriage, but it too was short-lived. They separated in 1948. Johnny remarried a few years down the road, in 1948, to Eileen Gates. They were wed for little over 10 years until finally splitting up in 1962. Maria Gertrude Baumann was Johnny's 5th and last wife, and they were married in 1963. After Johnny's death in 1984, they remained together for the remainder of his life. Johnny also received Lisa Weissmuller Gallagher as a stepdaughter from his marriage to Maria. Specifically, Johnny Weissmuller Jr., Johnny's son, deserves some attention now that we've covered Johnny's wife. Weissmuller Jr., born in 1940 to Johnny and his third wife Beryl, had some fairly huge shoes to fill as a child. He was lucky to have Tarzan as a father in addition to a renowned dad. Think about the high expectations that would accompany it. In the same vein as his famous father, Weissmuller Jr. was a gifted swimmer who competed on the USC swim team. Weissmuller Jr. has a varied acting career that includes appearances in films like American Graffiti and THX 1138, as well as stunt work. The Streets of San Francisco was only one of several TV series that featured his cameo appearances. In Tarzan, Shame of the Jungle, an X-rated animation translated into English, Weissmuller Jr. had a one-of-a-kind role as Tarzan. A chronicle of his life, Tarzan, My Father, was out in 2002. In the book, he opened up about his childhood as the son of a legendary actor, giving readers a glimpse into Johnny Weissmuller's actual personality. Weissmuller Jr. was a longshoreman and yacht racer in San Francisco during his twilight years. He also raced from California to Hawaii. He was 65 years old when he passed away in 2006 from liver cancer. He left behind a legacy of his own and memories of being Tarzan's sidekick. It was in the 1970s that Johnny Weissmuller's health started to deteriorate, unfortunately. It seems like his problems began in 1974, when he fractured his hip and leg. The news that Johnny had a severe cardiac ailment came as a shock, given his legendary athletic prowess and fitness level. Meanwhile, Johnny's already frail condition deteriorated due to a string of strokes. Many retired actors seek out the treatment they require at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital in California, where Johnny spent time in 1979 as his condition deteriorated. Johnny and Maria uprooted their lives after only a short while and settled in Acapulco, Mexico. You probably felt a mix of emotions with this maneuver. Johnny would spend his last years in Acapulco, the same location that had been the backdrop for his last Tarzan film. At the age of 79, Johnny Weissmuller died on January 20, 1984. Pulmonary edema, a disease characterized by an accumulation of fluid in the lungs, and a major contributor to the patient's inability to breathe, ultimately proved to be fatal. His passing signified the conclusion of a period, but even in death, Johnny lived up to his legendary reputation. Upon his request, the iconic Tarzan shout was played 3 times as his casket was lowered into the earth. He seemingly wanted for everyone to keep in mind that his colossal presence would reverberate in perpetuity even after he had passed away. The Valley of the Light Cemetery, just outside of Acapulco, is where Johnny was laid to rest, and his passing was anything from peaceful. Johnny was presented with a 21-gun salute, an honor often accorded to heads of state by Senator Ted Kennedy and President Ronald Reagan. However, Johnny was essentially a king in his own jungle in many respects. I appreciate you tuning in. To show your appreciation for Johnny Weissmuller and his amazing life story, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tell us what you think in the comments section. To make sure you don't miss any of our future videos, be sure to click the bell icon.